up, guys? This is Mr. Eldridge, and in today's video, we're going to look at the history of the Bank of the United States, as well as understanding what does the bank actually do. After the American Revolution, the United States faced major financial problems. The new government had war debt, a weak currency, and no central financial authority. Under the Articles of Confederation, Congress had no power to tax and struggled to fund basic operations. When the United States took effect in 1789, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton proposed a national bank to stabilize the economy, manage debt, and create a uniform currency. So the bank was initially proposed, like we said, by Alexander Hamilton in his report on a national bank in 1790. This was opposed by Thomas Jefferson, who argued it was unconstitutional since the Constitution didn't explicitly give Congress the power to create a bank. Hamilton argued the necessary and proper clause, allowing implied powers for the carrying out of enumerated ones. In this case, regulating commerce and collecting taxes. The charter was signed by President George Washington in 1791, creating the first Bank of the United States for a 20-year term. It would be headquartered in Philadelphia with branches in major cities. There would be a public and a private partnership. $10 million would go into capital, i.e. 80% would be done by private investors, while 20% would be done by the federal government. The United States government was the largest shareholder, but did not directly control operations. They would hold federal deposits, issue national banknotes backed by what are called specie, that would be gold and silver, and they would lend money to the government and regulate state banks. Jeffersonian Republicans saw it as favoring wealthy elites and undermining the idea of the 10th Amendment and states' rights. When the charter came up for renewal in 1811, Congress voted not to charter the bank. It initially closed in 1811, and its assets were sold to private investors. After the bank's closure, state banks multiplied and issued their own currencies with little regulation. This would lead to, of course, inflation, speculation, and inconsistent paper money values. The War of 1812 worsened financial instability as the government struggled to fund military expenses. By 1816, even critics like Madison, who was president at the time, admitted a national bank was necessary for the stability of the American economy. Congress will officially recharter the Bank of the U.S. in 1816 for a time period of 20 additional years. This second Bank of the U.S. is going to be modeled by the first. It is going to be capitalized at $35 million. This is the largest corporation in the country at the time. It would, again, be headquartered in Philadelphia with branches nationwide. Like we said, this is very similar to the first one. Now, there were early problems with the second Bank of the U.S. Poor management and speculative lending led to a financial panic in 1819. The Panic of 1819 caused widespread bankruptcies and foreclosures. Many blamed the bank, fueling anti-bank sentiment, especially among Western farmers, and being led by one major voice, and that being Andrew Jackson. In 1823, Nicholas Biddle became the president of the bank. Biddle strengthened operations, stabilized the currency, and restored public confidence in the bank. And the bank acted as a de facto central bank, controlling credit and restraining inflation. When Andrew Jackson became president of the United States, he viewed the bank as a symbol of corruption and aristocratic privilege. He famously said, "The bank is trying to kill me, but I will kill it." He believed it concentrated too much power in the hands of unelected bankers and foreign investors. In 1832, Congress passed a bill to recharter the Bank of the U.S. 4 years prior to. This was an election year, and Andrew Jackson was running against Henry Clay. Jackson vetoed the bill, calling the bank unconstitutional and dangerous to liberty. His veto message became a populist manifesto against concentrated economic power, and the election of 1832 was seen as a mandate. If the country was in favor of Jackson, they are saying that the bank should be no more. Jackson saw it as a mandate. If the country votes for Henry Clay, it was seen as something as a positive for the rechartering of the bank. And of course, we know that in 1832, Andrew Jackson will become the President of the United States for a second term. Jackson wanted to get rid of the bank, and Jackson is going to order federal deposits being withdrawn from the bank and place them into, quote, pet banks. This weakened the bank's influence, led to speculative lending, and the demise and the ending of the Bank of the U.S. The bank's federal charter officially expired in 1836. Biddle tried to continue as a private institution. It was called the Bank of the United States of Pennsylvania, but it failed by 1841. Jackson's opponents accused him of causing economic instability, culminating in the Panic of 1837. The Panic of 1837 would turn from a panic into a depression by 1839, with the wide-scale failing of the cotton industry as well as the banking industry. The absence of a central bank led to unstable money supply and repeated financial panics throughout the 19th century. The independent treasury system established during the administration of James K. Polk, and later the creation of the Federal Reserve System of 1913, were created to manage the nation's money supply and credit more effectively. The bank wars intensified the two-party system, with Jackson's Democrats opposing centralized economic power and the Whigs supporting a stronger federal role. It was a major early example of the ongoing debate between the role of federal authority, states' rights, as well as populism versus elitism in early American politics. The two banks of the United States laid the groundwork for the modern central banking system that we have today, even though they were very politically controversial. They represented early efforts to regulate currency and credit, support national economic growth, balance public authority with private enterprise. Their downfall demonstrated the deep tension in United States history between federal economic control and democratic distrust of concentrated power, a debate that continues into today, and especially today's modern fiscal policy and conversations about the Federal Reserve. Hey, thank you so much for paying attention to this video. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do so now. Thank you so much.